Hey guys, Desolator Magic back with another great video. I have a little bit of a cold, I think, coming on, but I'm freebasing zinc like a cocaine addict, and hopefully that stops it. In the meantime, I'm eating ramen shirtless, and I think my neighbors just got arrested. It's time for a white trash deck. That's right, it's a budget deck using only white creatures. And this one I nicknamed the Aircraft Carrier. In case you haven't noticed the pattern, the five colors pretty much have their themes, they have their things that they do, and white is especially good at combat. You see a lot of flyers, a lot of first strike, a lot of vigilance, double strike, they're very good combatants, the creatures themselves. And then the spells, obviously a lot of removal, a lot of boost, so it kind of supports the whole I'm going to run you over with creatures thing more than any other color. Although I would say it's kind of tied with green. Well, this particular deck does something that green never ever does, and that's use flyers. Actually, it's exclusively flyers. There's not even one single creature on the ground. Now, the reason I chose this is because right now, pretty much nobody's playing with flyers. I mean, unless they're still doing some weird dragons thing, or they bring out the guy who brings out free dragon tokens, which he's horribly unpopular for some reason. Effectively all the creatures are unblockable, so just replace the word flying with unblockable and you'll get why I built this deck. It really does work. And I'll throw up a test game right after this too, showing it just stomping one of the worst aggro decks I've ever built as well. I'll run through the creatures really quickly because they're pretty much just all the best flyers in white, and that's it. I mean, I just went through, literally searched for any creature that's white and has the word flying in it, and then put the best ones in the deck. So most of these creatures kind of suck by themselves, but when you consider that all of them are almost guaranteed to come through and do damage and then mix it with the couple spells I picked out, it really does work. So it looks like it doesn't work, but it does. So let's start with the Kitesail Scout. There's your 1/1 flyer for 1. Nothing special there. Let's move on to the Aven Skirmisher. Another 1/1 for 1 flyer. Simple. Now that's the only creature that there are 3 of. Every other card actually that I name has 4. So I'm probably not even going to post the deck list because that's just what it is. I might post it anyway. You guys always request it, so I'll end up doing it. Next up, we've got Aven Sunstriker, the double striker. Now, it does cost 3, and he's a 1/1, but it's really important to have a 1 damage first striker, plus he actually does have Megamorph. So if he ends up being one of the last creatures to leave your hand when you've got a whole bunch of mana on the field and not much to do with it because you're top decking, you really could Megamorph him. Otherwise, a 2/2 on the ground actually does lend itself to certain circumstances. Next up, we've got Blessed Spirits, which really has nothing to do with the ability. It's just a 2/2 flyer. There are no enchantments in the deck. Then, of course, we've got the Misthoof Kirin, the Vigilant Megamorphing 2/1 for 3. So not spectacular, but it is 2 damage for 3. We're going for really quick, fast damage in this deck. So the Megamorph is nice, and then plus they won't know which creature it is between that and the Sunstriker. So a little bit of mystery. I mean, this deck isn't too matchy, everything goes together, a bunch of secrets, but it's pretty nice. Also, the Vigilance is kind of nice, but I mean, the 2/1 toughness, it doesn't work, but it does work with a spell, though. So, I never like Vigilance creatures with 1 toughness because you're just going to lose them. It's just, what's the point? But next up, we've got the Stalwart Aven, a 1/3 Renown 1 creature for 3. So, since it's flying, it's going to hit, and then it will actually be a 2/4. So, I thought, well, another 2 damage for 3, basically. We had to kind of settle because, honestly, there was like Watcher of the Roost and Alabaster Kirin, High Sentinels. I mean, all the rest of the creatures just sucked. All the ones that didn't go in the deck. Now, we've got the last creature, the king of the deck, or queen, not really sure. Archangel of Tides, or Archangel, depending upon how Old English you want to pronounce it. This isn't like the whole point of the deck, but I mean, a 3/5 for 4 flyer, I'll take that. And then the ability is just hilarious. I absolutely love it because it kind of does shut them down if you don't swing. If you do swing, whoop-de-doo, they aren't going to block you anyway. But basically it says as long as Archangel of Tides is untapped, so as long as you didn't swing with it, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control until their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. That's just fantastic. I absolutely love it. Now, that is a generic mana cost. It's not converted to the new symbol. It doesn't literally cost dedicated colorless, so keep that in mind. And then the second ability is, as long as Archangel of Tides is attacking, so during combat, creatures can't block unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. So usually that's good if you've got ground creatures. With flyers, it barely matters, but if you're playing against all flyers, I guess, hey, why not? So far the deck is so-so, but you might get out-damaged by more clever decks, like something with like a Mana Gorger or Hydra Hardened Skills, you know, Avatar thing going on. But this is where it really sets it apart and just kind of stalls and stalls and stalls, because white is really good at life gain and combat manipulation. So first we've got the one spell I'm not too sure about, Searing Light. Okay, so it only blows up attacking or blocking creatures for 1 mana as an instant, which is very nice, if their power is 2 or less. So would you really want to blow up something 2 or less? If it's swinging, would you even care? I mean, whatever. So you really could throw in Celestial Flare. I'm thinking about swapping it myself. It's just that would be 2 mana instead of 1. But, you know, you could put it in the sideboard. And honestly, I didn't even bother building a sideboard because this deck just does one thing. I mean, I don't know how you'd fix it. Maybe swap out 15 creatures with like ground creatures that are better, I guess, if they're running like, what, Windstorm? I mean, I don't even know. The deck basically just does what it does. You don't even need a sideboard. Next up, we've got Dazzling Reflection, one of my favorite spells from the entire OGW set. I absolutely love it. Plus, they got like an Aslan, like Harry Potter mix thing going on. Really weird. I don't know what's going on there. But I pulled 4 foils of this, so it's going in the deck. But here's how it works. You pay 2... and you could do this on your turn, but otherwise you should do it in response to them swinging or some sort of them blocking. There's all kinds of stuff you could do with this. It's just perfect. But the effect is you gain life equal to target creature's power. The next time that creature would deal damage this turn, prevent that damage. So if you just real quick needed to gain 4 life, you know, target something with 4 and there you go. But if they swung with that creature, okay, now let's say you're at 20 life. And you just gain 4 life. Okay, now it does 0 damage during combat. So then the next turn it swings and brings you back from 24 back down to 20. The third turn it swings again and finally hits you. So it's kind of like a double fog. I mean, that's why I didn't put the fog effect in here, which is Encircling Fissure, because this is just better. Although Encircling Fissure is all creatures, so it is a little bit nicer. Then the third spell is Ondu Rising. I love this spell. It's just amazing. I mean, for 2 mana, you can give all attacking creatures lifelink. I mean, this is the absolute grand spell in Two-Headed Giant because it says all attacking creatures, doesn't say you have to own them. But other than that, I mean, the Awaken, that's great. The fact that it only costs 2. When I swung with this, I think I gained 9 life. So then they have to out-hit me with whatever creatures are left on the ground. And usually it's 2 to 3 turns. So every time you play a spell, you shut them down for 2 turns with this deck, pretty much, except for Searing Light. That's why, you know, there's also Immolating Glare. You could do that. There's Gideon's Reproach and Celestial Flare. Honestly, I would go with Immolating Glare out of all the 3. I do really like Celestial Flare, though, but as if they're ever going to block. So, Searing Light, Immolating Glare, you make the determination. For lands, we've just got 13 Plains, of course, and then 4 Blighted Steppes, just because you're going to have a lot of creatures on the field. It's just one more way to drop a land into the field. And then if you absolutely needed to, you pay 4, sacrifice it, and then gain 2 life for each creature you control, which is usually about 3 to 4 to 5. So, I mean, you could be gaining 10 life and just buy yourself a ton of turns while you're completely out of cards in hand. So that's why I put it in there, even though it generates colorless. There's not really that much double white in here. There is a triple white and there's 1 double white, but it's not the end of the world. I never had problems with it when I was testing. And then, of course, the other one is Sandstone Bridge. You can't beat a good Sandstone Bridge. I mean, it does come in tap, so turn 1 it kind of sucks because you might have a 1 cost. Turn 2 it kind of sucks because you might have a 2 cost. But anything later than that, you should be pretty good. Because when it enters the battlefield, you pick a creature, and then it gets 1/1 until end of turn, and gains Vigilance. So it's just a little extra damage, a little extra something. You could throw it in there for obviously 0 mana, just drop it as a land, and then mix it with Ondu Rising. It's just a little something. You could pull it if you really wanted to absolutely speed up this deck, though. So that's the whole deck. 60 cards, 21 lands, and a 2.02 average mana cost. Well, that does it for the deck configuration. Now I'll post a video or 2 of me just stomping the living crap out of my other deck, hopefully. I built a deck that represents the worst possible scenario of aggro and mass creatures, because this is, you know, not good at removing lots of creatures. It doesn't have a board wipe, obviously. So we've got, like, Erishan Foremost, the Warrior Double Striker. Then we've got the Dragon Hunter, which is a 2-1 for 1, an Expedition Envoy, which is a 2-1 for 1, Mardu Woe Reaper, which is a 2-1 for 1. You see where I'm going. Frostwalker, that's a 4-1 for 2. Hello. And then Dramoka Warrior, that's a 3-1 for 2. Consul's Lieutenant, it's a 2-1 First Strike Renown 1 for 2. And Core Castigator, my favorite, a 3-1 for 2. Then it has a Turn to Frog, actually, and Encircling Fisher. So that's the whole deck. And that one actually runs 40 creatures and spells, and then exactly 20 total lands. It's 4 Prairie Streams, 4 Tranquil Coves, or Caves, whatever it is, and then 7 Plains, 5 Islands, because it's mostly white. So we're going up against a white-blue mixed deck that has just monstrous blitzing creatures. It should be fantastic. So stay tuned for that one, and you're not really tuning YouTube, you're more clicking on things, but I'm old, so I'll see you guys next video.